I've watched Mike Thurston for the last 7 years. Through watching his wisdom, I've managed to lose 50 kilos. In this video, I'm going to be sharing the 5 most important lessons that I've learned from him that has helped me on my journey, so it can help you on yours too. Lesson number 1 is that the biggest mistake that people are making with their diet is that they are overcomplicating it for themselves. I was the same, and I'm going to explain how to make it not complicated in a minute. But when I first started dieting, I would do such silly things. What I used to do is I would starve myself all day. So I would have an egg white omelette at lunch. And if you think about what egg white omelette is, it's literally just like 200 calories, pure protein. And I'd have it with some veg, so a very low calorie meal. And then I would have a big dinner, and it would be super ultra processed, maybe vegan chicken nuggets. I'd still get my protein in. And then after that, I would have this massive protein bowl. And this protein bowl would consist of these protein balls, a protein pancake by this company called Nano Sups, and it would have this chocolate filling inside, and then I would melt this pudding called Lindau's protein pudding, and it would make it into custard, but obviously it's got protein in it. So I'd put that all together and then put some frozen berries, maybe a bit of sugar-free Cinero. So I have this massive protein bowl, I'd have this massive processed dinner, which is still high in protein, and I would think that diet was really good. But in reality, there were so many wrong things with what I was doing. First, I was starving myself throughout the day. This is not what I do now, which I'm going to share in a minute. But what I would do when I first started, I would just starve myself throughout the day, and then I'll have this massive binge at night. But then also I would have these high protein, let's call them high protein UPFs, thinking that I was being healthy, but it really wasn't healthy. And what I do now, which is what Mike suggests, is just have normal meals throughout the day. Now I like fasting, and that's something that I enjoy doing, but the 2 meals that I have in the day, they're roughly even sized, and they're just whole foods. I just eat meat, eggs, chicken, fish, rice, potatoes, vegetables, and there's so many benefits to this. And one of the most important benefits I'm going to explain in a second, but I have fewer cravings, I have more energy, I'm able to build more muscle. I just feel more full because I'm filling my body with foods that are real versus foods that are just fake and artificial. And I think that has a massive impact to the satiety that I have. And this is something that Mike Thurston preaches a lot, and he doesn't even preach it. When he documents videos of what I eat in a day, his meals are really good, where they're just mostly whole foods. He'll have an omelette in the morning, and then later on in the day, he might have some chicken, rice, veg. Later in the day, he might have some salmon, rice, veg, avocado, salads. Because of that, he's able to stay full. He's able to give himself the nutrients that he needs to perform at a good level. You can see that it just shows in his physique. And now I've been doing that really religiously for the last 2 weeks. I'm doing a challenge called 75 Hard. And one of the things is to eat unprocessed foods. And I just feel better as well. I don't know if I'm able to build more muscle. It's hard to tell that, but I feel more full. I feel like I have lots of energy. Lesson number 2. This is one of the most important mindset shifts that you need to make if you want to lose weight. In a recent set of videos, Mike documented his journey of getting shredded and lean. And you might be surprised to know that he wasn't actually that strict. When I first started dieting, I would set super unrealistic goals for myself. And I'm going to explain how this ties together to the mindset shift in a minute. But I would set unrealistic goals for myself. To lose 12 kilos in 12 weeks, I would constantly be thinking about the goal. I'll go really aggressive with calories, like 1,400 calories, 1,500 calories. I would try to do 15,000 steps per day. I would do cardio every single day, and I wouldn't go out with my friends. I wouldn't go out with my family, and it would just become a little bit miserable. Eventually, I would burn out and I'd fall off the bandwagon. The reason for this is because I was so focused on the result that I wanted to get there as fast as possible. I forgot about enjoying the process. This is what Mike does well, where he enjoys the process. He'll go out for a meal. He'll just navigate that situation. Now, obviously, he has way more calories to play with because he's just a bigger guy and he's got a lot more muscle mass. But at the same time, he still has to restrict when he has to restrict. He just does it in an enjoyable way, and he doesn't go so aggressive, and he just allows his body to recompose and lose weight slowly. But it's way more sustainable. He retains all the muscle mass that he has, and it's just a way funner approach to fat loss, in my opinion. I think it's completely okay to lose a fat a bit faster than he would, because obviously he's got a lot more muscle mass, he's a lot more lean already. And so if you're super overweight, you can lose weight faster. But I think the point here is to just make sure you're doing it in a way which is actually sustainable, enjoyable, and fun. And so a question that I like to ask myself is, if you had to do this regime forever, could you do it forever? Because I think when you ask that question, and if you say no, and you're like, oh, I wouldn't be able to like stick this out forever, then it's probably not the best thing to be doing, because what you want to do is get to a point where it is just your lifestyle and maybe you're manipulating calories here and there. And this is the point where Mike isn't in really good shape because he's gone on some crash diet and lost loads of weight. He's in really good shape because his lifestyle and the byproduct of his habits and behaviors allow him to be there. And so that's a really big learning, where instead of trying to go on a crash diet to lose weight or do something super unsustainable, or go to the gym 6 times a week and do things that end up you burning out and crashing down, I think it's way better to just maybe take it slightly slower, but build it into your life as a lifestyle so you can sustain it. Lesson number 3, 99% of people that go to the gym that I see around, especially in the UK, overlook the thing that I'm going to share. When I see people going around the gym at the moment, I'll see them swinging their weights up and down, using momentum to lift the weights. You have to ask yourself the question, if you're doing this, if I'm going to the gym for the purpose of building muscle, and then I go there and I swing the weights up and down with momentum, I may as well just not go to the gym. And I'm going to share how you should lift the weights and what Mike preaches in a second. But let me explain the problem with momentum in 3 steps. When you use momentum to lift the weight, you're using multiple muscle groups, which are not the target muscle, to move the weight, and you move it really quickly. This extra force allows the weight to move without extra effort from the target muscle, and as a result you have shifted the weight but not actually recruited the target muscle fibers, and this limits the growth of the muscles. And so you've just gone there and you've swung the weight around, but you've not actually built any muscle. There is literally no point to doing that. And so Mikey T preaches is focusing on doing slow, controlled reps. And so if you're doing a bench press, instead of going like, ooh, like that, just go nice and slow, feel that stretch, feel your muscle fibers ripping apart, and then come back up and squeeze your pec. Because when you do that, you're maximizing the tension in your muscles and you're making the most out of the 1 hour in the day that you get in the gym to give your muscle fibers the stimulus in order to build muscle. And okay, one session where you lift weights quickly is not going to make a big difference. But if you think about it, if you're going 3-4 times a week, having that extra attention to detail every single time, the compounding return of that is going to make a big difference to the way that you look and the amount of muscle that you build. Lesson number 4. This is one thing that I wish I told myself 6 years ago when I first started my journey. I used to watch Mike Thurston a lot. He would inspire me to go to the gym, and to be honest, he's inspired me a lot to build the life that I have today and the life that I am building right now. I used to watch him on YouTube. Now I create YouTube videos. But he's provided me a lot of knowledge to lose fat, build muscle. But then something that wasn't quite healthy was, because I saw him online and he looks great, I would also create unrealistic expectations for the way that I wanted to look. And so by watching so much of Mike Thurston, this ideal would be created. And because I was so early on in my journey, I used to forget that he'd been on his journey for 10, 15 years. In 6 weeks, when I hadn't made the progress that I wanted to make and I wasn't looking like Mike, I'd be like, oh fuck, I'm not where I want to be. And that would be disheartening. I think there are 3 issues with this way of thinking that I want to highlight to you so that you don't get into this trap of making these comparisons. And what I'll do afterwards is actually provide you with a better approach to this whole journey. Mike Thurston and other fitness professionals and fitness influencers have incredible genetics. This isn't making excuses. Like, I think it's super important to put the effort that you can into your journey and not take away from that. But I want to explain something called the swimmer's body illusion to you. Imagine a guy that wants to get in shape. And so he looks at marathon runners and he's like, oh, I don't want to look like that. They look a bit skinny, they look a bit scrawny. Then he looks at bodybuilders and he's like, oh, these guys look a bit big. And so he finds swimmers, he finds Michael Phelps and he's like, I want that kind of shape. This guy starts swimming every single day. Let's call him Tom. Tom's swimming every single day for 6 months. And one day he gets out the pool after 6 months of swimming and he's like, I don't look like Michael Phelps. And he realized this is an illusion because swimmers don't look the way that they look because they swim. They swim because of the way that they look. There's a certain build that is good for swimming. And it's exactly the same with bodybuilding. People that have this natural inclination to looking good end up bodybuilding. People that are quite skinny and maybe are naturally good at running end up doing marathons. And people that also look good end up becoming personal trainers and coaches. And so when a guy or a girl becomes a personal trainer, they start preaching, eat whole foods and eat all this stuff. But they don't look the way that they look because they preach all of this stuff. They preach all of this stuff because of the way that they look. And so whilst they might be saying all this good information, sometimes just take it with a pinch of salt and just remember that if these guys have really good genetics, even if I do the same things as them, I might not look the way that I want to look, because that expectation is based on what I've seen of them online. And this relates to the next point that I'm going to make in a minute. The second point is that making these comparisons to an ideal is that it is super demotivating, and you become too focused on the result, which is what I said previously in the video, and then you end up constantly falling short, and that means that you fall off the bandwagon, you get burnt out, you might do things like be really aggressive, but you're always never reaching the goal that you want because it's a figment of your imagination. And so instead of measuring the gap between where you are now and where you want to be, because where you want to be is something that you don't actually know exists, measure how far you've come since last week or 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago or a month ago or 6 months ago, because when you measure yourself between where you are now and where you come from, it is way more motivated, and that pushes you on to become better. And then finally, what you see online is not the real truth. I went on a mastermind a month ago with a guy called Louis Armstrong, and he's really good friends with Mike Thurston. And we were talking about how content creation and how to make your content good. And what Louis said was like, if you want to film on a certain day, make sure you know you're eating well, you're training well, you're doing the things that make you feel good. And then he went on to talk about Mike. He was Mike's videographer for 2 years. He said that Mike would hardly drink water on the days that he would film videos because it makes his body look better. And he knows that if his body looks better on camera, the people are more likely to watch it, which is fine. Like, I don't think there's an issue with that. But it's important to be aware of this, that social media pushes the top 1%. They only show their top 1%, but we compare ourselves to that when we see ourselves in the worst lighting. And so obviously we feel a little bit inferior. And so the lesson here is, instead of trying to compare myself based on what I see online and see of Mike, it's just to focus on my own journey and use what I see online as inspiration. Don't get me wrong, it's good to see that stuff, but always focus on your own journey, continuously getting better, continuously improving, focusing on the daily actions that you need to take, and remembering that I'm the only person I'm competing against. And it doesn't matter what everyone else is doing, just focus on your own self. That is the straight route to fulfillment and happiness. Finally, lesson number 5. This is the most important habit that you can do if you want to lose weight. When I was younger, my family would get takeaways from a Chinese restaurant. We would get the whole shebang, like spring rolls, seaweed, this crispy fried rice with sweet and sour sauce, which was super nice. We'd get noodle, like mock chicken, the whole works, and it would come in this massive cardboard crate. If you've ever been to Costco and you've got a massive amount of apples, or any fruit, papaya, mango, they come in these massive cardboard crates. And all of our food would get packed into there because we had so much, they wouldn't even put it in the bags. And I shit you not, on a normal weekday evening after having a normal day of food, cereal in the morning and just normal lunch and a few snacks throughout the day, I would have this massive Chinese takeaway for dinner. And it would be super tasty. It would also be super calorific. And I had zero awareness of that's what calories were, how much energy I was consuming, what it was doing to my body at the time, and neither did my family. And I think that is one of the reasons why we were all overweight. And so one of the habits that Mikey T still swears by, and I swear by as well, is just tracking calories and being aware of the calories that you're consuming. Because if you think about it, every time that you track calories, you are becoming more and more aware of what's in your food, and it means that you can make more and more sensible decisions around what is a good amount of food to consume, even if you don't have the ability to track in the future. But the fact that Mike has been doing it for 15 years and he still has this old school Excel sheet where he inputs his food into it, I don't know why he doesn't just use MyFitnessPal. But the fact that he still does it is just a sign, okay, maybe it's worthwhile doing it, especially when you're dieting, especially when you're trying to lose weight. And And if you've gone from a period of overeating, you 100% don't know what's in your food, because the reason why you want to lose weight is because you're fat, and you're fat because you don't know what's in food. Because if you knew what was in food, you'd make better decisions and you wouldn't be fat in the first place. And so tracking calories gives you that awareness, and it's 100% the highest leverage activity that you can do, because it's going to help you control your nutrition so much. And so that is the final lesson. 5 of my biggest takeaways from watching Mikey T over the years that has helped me lose 50 kilos. If you like this video, then check out this one here, because YouTube thinks that you'll probably like it. And remember, become the person that you want to be. Peace.